The United States national debt is no longer just an economic problem or a tax problem or a concern about the United States dollar. It is now becoming a national security problem. How do I know? Because we just got a report saying that our national debt is going to hit $56 trillion in one decade by 2036. Now, realistically, that amount of national debt really doesn't mean anything because it's just a big number and it's hard for the average person to fathom what that actually means. But the reason why that matters is because the Bipartisan Policy Center responded by saying, quote, Congress may become less inclined or less able to fully support the country's national security strategy or meet security requirements for our allies because the debt challenges will now change our priorities. That's the concern, that our government is going to become so focused on trying to tackle our national debt that we're going to have to start ignoring our national security and start ignoring what's happening with geopolitics. And this is going to impact your money and investment. So let's break this all down. And this is also why, by the way, on March 18th, 2026, this year, I'm hosting a live, free, and virtual investor workshop this time because of all the changes that we've just seen. The changes with tariffs, and also now new changes coming with the Federal Reserve Bank. These two new changes are going to create new and unique investment opportunities. I'm going to break it down on March 18th live. I'm doing it twice on March 18th, once in the morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, again in the evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you'd like to join, it's live, it's free, it's virtual, but you do have to register, and we have a limited number of people that can actually join me live. So if you're interested, if you're an investor, I have the link for you down in the description below. So let's break this down. The way that our national debt works is the United States government collects tax dollars and then they go out and spend all those tax dollars and then some. So hypothetically, the United States government is going to collect something around $5 trillion this year in 2026, but they're going to go out and spend around roughly $7 trillion in 2026. Now you're going to say, well, where are they going to get that other $2 trillion? The other $2 trillion has to be borrowed. And the government borrows this money from people like you and me, regular people. They borrow this money from private institutions like big banks. They borrow this money from foreign countries like Japan and the United Kingdom and China. And if they can't borrow enough money from all these places, they then go to the central bank, which is the Federal Reserve Bank, who then prints that money, and then they print it and lend it to the United States government. Now here's why that matters. Because every year when the government spends money that they don't have, that trillion or $2 trillion of national deficit gets rolled into what's called our national debt. Well, the government has to pay that debt back. Just like if you go and start spending money on your Amex, you have to pay it back plus interest. The government has to do the same thing. And we've seen a big change in our national debt over the last few years since the pandemic. Not just because we've borrowed a lot more money, because our interest payments have gone up. For the last decades or so, before the pandemic, the United States government was borrowing money at very low interest rates. It's called near zero interest rates, but very cheap interest rates. So we were able to just keep borrowing and borrowing money and not having to worry about the interest payments too much because the interest rates were so low. But then what happened was inflation. Remember, post-pandemic, we had this super high inflation. Well, to fight that inflation, in 2022, the Federal Reserve Bank started raising interest rates. And this raising of interest rates obviously made getting a mortgage more expensive, getting a car loan more expensive, but it also made our national debt more expensive. Because when the government goes out and they borrow money, they used to primarily do 30-year loans, like a 30-year mortgage. Well, that started to change a number of years ago, that they started to do shorter term loans because they could get a cheaper interest rate on shorter term loans. So the government started doing 1-year loans, 2-year loans, 3-year loans. And now these shorter interest rate loans now have to readjust. And as they've been readjusting at the significantly higher interest rates that we have today. Which means not only has the government borrowed so many more dollars, not just over the last few years, but over the last many years, they borrowed so many dollars, but now these dollars have a higher interest rate, which is why our interest costs have skyrocketed. The fastest growing expense for the United States government is not our military, it's not Social Security, it's not veterans benefits, it is interest payments. But not just that. Now the second largest expense for the United States government is no longer defense. It is interest payments, which means that more and more of your tax dollars are being used not to buy you more services, but to pay back yesterday's expenses plus interest. And to put it in perspective, our interest costs, just the interest cost, has about tripled between 2020 to 2025. We went from having around $345 billion a year in interest payments in 2020 to almost $1 trillion of interest payments just in 2025. That's the concern, that as we continue spending this type of money, our largest expense is going to be interest payments, and we're going to reach a point where in order to make these interest payments, we, the United States government, are going to have to borrow money to make the interest payments, meaning we're going to have to use the Amex to pay off the Visa. You can start to see why that's a problem. And there's a saying called the Ferguson limit, which goes, when any great power spends more on debt than they do on defense, then it ceases to become a great power. And we've seen this happen throughout history. Take a look at what happened with the Ottoman Empire. Take a look at what happened with Britain after World War I. What we saw is that these were big empires that as they reached a point where these empires now are spending more and more money on their interest payments, on their debt, as opposed to their own defense and security, that was the same time where we saw those empires start to fall. Now, we've heard this from many different people. Ray Dalio has talked about the same thing. The idea is now we become, as a society, so reliant on debt, and we become so reliant on this money printing, on this dilution of the value of our money, that we start to ignore the idea that, oh, this could actually be harming our economy. And so you want to pay attention to this because, number one, you might say it's a simple solution. Why don't we just cut spending or earn more money? Which you're absolutely right. As the government, we can slow this down if we were able to cut spending or earning more revenue. The problem is both of those things have short-term pain. And unfortunately, we've become accustomed to no pain. And so that short-term pain seems like a big problem. And no president wants to endure that short-term pain under their presidency, because that's going to make their presidency look like a loss. Because if the government were to cut spending, that means that businesses lose government contracts. That means that people lose their jobs. That means that companies lose funding. That hurts the economy. That means layoffs. That means people no longer have the ability to pay their mortgages or make their car payments, which has a big trickle-down effect in the economy. And from a social perspective, that just doesn't look good when people lose their jobs. Nobody likes the idea of layoffs. But if we continue spending as the government, we have more and more people that become reliant and dependent on government spending, which means the government has to keep spending more and more money to keep feeding all the people that are relying on the government spending. Well, what if we just earn more money? Sure, we can earn more money as the government, but again, that has a cost as well. Earning more money as the government means generating more tax dollars. That means raising taxes. And as we all know, raising taxes has a cost, because that means now you have to pay higher taxes. And you might just say, well, Jaspreet, can't we just raise taxes on the rich? Well, it doesn't really work like that. And sure, you could, but then we've seen consequences of that happening as well. There's no simple solution to this. And even if you just said, well, why don't we just raise taxes on the rich? Unfortunately, that's not going to be passed. And as a licensed attorney who is not your attorney, what I can tell you is that the rich have access to better accountants, to better attorneys, to find other ways to pay less money in taxes. So that's where it goes back to the same problem that we've been having. The government now has to keep spending money. People become reliant on government spending. The government can't cut government spending because people need that money. The government doesn't want to continue raising taxes because that also hurts the economy. And then we end up in a situation that we are in right now, where the United States government is spending more and more money on interest payments. And now we're also reaching a point where we have to start worrying about, if we become weaker as a society and we have more and more countries that hold our debt, does that make us even more susceptible? Because number one, the largest foreign owner of United States dollars, or loans to the government, is Japan. Number two is the United Kingdom. Number three is China. Now, China is interesting because China used to be a much larger owner of United States dollars, but over the last number of years, China has been selling off some of their dollars. They've been selling off some of this debt. Why does that matter? Because if there are more sellers of our debt, there are more sellers of our dollars, somebody has to pick that tab up. And if there's not as many people to buy that tab, that means that interest payments go up even more. Think of it like supply and demand. If the government is issuing a loan and people are ready to throw money at the government saying, please take our money, the government doesn't have to offer that high of interest rates because there's so many borrowers, there's so many people willing to lend money to the government. But if there are more sellers, there's more people trying to get rid of their loans, there's more people trying to dump the United States debt, well, now the government has to incentivize you to continue lending money to the government. Well, how do they do that? By raising interest rates. So as we are now seeing more and more of these foreign economies owning more United States dollars, that also puts the United States economy at risk, because if these foreign economies start to dump the dollars, well, somebody has to buy that debt. And if there are enough buyers out there, that means that interest payments would then have to go up as the government has to incentivize more people to continue buying that debt. And if those interest payments go up, that makes all the government debt even more expensive, which you can start to see the problem. That means more tax dollars have to go into paying that off. And this is one of the reasons why we have seen the United States credit rating fall again and again and again. In 2011, S&P downgraded the United States debt. That was the first time it happened since the 2008 crash. Then in 2023, Fitch downgraded the debt because of the growing government burden. Then in 2025, Moody's, the third of the big three credit rating agencies, downgraded the government debt because of the growing national debt, but also because of the shrinking tax revenue. And part of the reason for that has to do with the new government tax plan, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, because according to the Congressional Budget Office, this new tax plan is going to reduce how much tax revenue is collected by the government. Now, from the president's side, he's saying that if we can cut taxes, then businesses will be able to grow bigger. So ultimately, we will be able to collect more taxes in the future. We'll see if that happens or not. But the idea is we're going to be collecting less tax revenue while government spending is not slowing down, which means there's going to be a bigger deficit. Less money coming in, more money going out, more people relying on the government, more concerns about the debt. And that's why people are getting concerned. That's one of the reasons why we have so much stock market volatility. That's one of the reasons why gold prices has been rising. That's one of the reasons why we've been seeing more and more investors move money outside of just the United States into foreign economies, because people are getting concerned about what could be coming. Now, this isn't a shift that happens overnight, but this is something you want to be paying attention to, because as an investor, you want to know how you can protect yourself for your time, your kids' time, your grandkids' time, but knowing how you can win across any economic cycle. And that's why, again, on March 18th, I have a live investor workshop to go over some of the changes that we're seeing right now, but also how they create new and unique investment opportunities for you. So if you're an investor, I invite you to join me on this investor workshop. The government has quietly started to stimulate markets again, and most people are not paying attention. How do I know? Because on February 5th, 2026, the Treasury Department announced that the Federal Reserve Bank has pumped $90 billion to stabilize markets so far, and they have no plans of slowing down.